Chamatkar Sandhu, sitting in a coffee shop in London with a very special guest today for KammakazeTV. He is the 2014 World Series of Poker main event winner and $10 million richer, Martin Jacobson. Martin, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. And Martin, the reason I wanted to speak to you today was I heard you on a podcast from a friend of mine, Adam Martin, and his co-host James Lynch in Toronto. They had you on their podcast, and when I found out that you were a fan of MMA and based in London, I just had to track you down and interview you. We'll get to your love for MMA in a while, but first of all, I really want to speak to you about your recent win. We're about a month and change removed from you winning the World Series of Poker main event tournament and winning that $10 million cash prize. How has your life changed since that moment in Vegas?
It hasn't actually changed that much. It's business as usual. You know, I keep playing poker. I keep doing what I love. But the biggest change is probably all the media attention and everyone congratulating me for the win. It's nice.
And how has this been received back home in Sweden for you specifically? Is this the kind of news that's made the mainstream headlines?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was way bigger than I expected, actually. So hopefully it could create like some a new sort of poker boom back in Sweden, and bring more people into poker and to discover the things I did from the beginning.
What's the poker scene been like in Sweden lately?
It's been actually on a bit of a decline, like everywhere. You know, it gets tougher and tougher with regulation and taxes, and it's tough, especially being a professional, to be able to keep it as a profession and not just a hobby. Hopefully my win could change some things.
Brilliant. Well, I remember seeing the final table, and we had Bruce Buffer, the UFC Octagon announcer, announce you, and I think it was when it was down to the final three.
Yeah.
What was that moment like for you?
It was pretty surreal, you know. Bruce there, he came backstage right before he was announcing us to check the pronunciation of our names.
Right.
And he plays the main event every year, and you could tell like he was really excited for us. He was probably more excited than we were. It was like a little kid. It was a really nice touch. I like that they do that.
Bruce Buffer is one of the guys in the MMA industry that we know, is a big fan of poker, plays a lot of poker. Are there any other people from the MMA industry, fighters maybe, that you've seen play in tournaments?
Yeah, I know that Martin Kampmann has gotten pretty involved in poker. He's been getting coaching from another professional, Jason Somerville, and I think TJ Dillashaw plays a little bit. So a couple of the alpha male guys play, and I hear Gustafsson is interested too. So maybe if he ever needs a poker coach, I'll be there.
Well, we'll get to Gustafsson in just a second. Let's talk about your passion and your fandom for MMA. When and where did that all begin for you?
It began in 2009. I went to UFC 100 in Vegas. Yeah, a buddy of mine got free tickets, and he asked me if I wanted to come. I'd never been to something like that, so I came with like pretty much no expectations, or I didn't really know what to expect. But I really liked it. It was a great night.
Right.
And then after that, I didn't really follow MMA or anything. But a year or so later, another friend of mine said, "Hey, you want to watch UFC tonight? I got some good bets." So we made this. It was UFC 133, and we made this like 8-way parlay, like 40-1,
right.
And it all came in. I was like, wow, this is unreal. I got to do this more often. And from that moment, really, I started following the sport more, and started getting a passion about it.
So how much do you watch? Would you consider yourself a hardcore fan, a casual fan? Do you try and watch as many events as possible on TV, or maybe even attend in person?
I watched all the events. I don't think I missed the ones there was like a double header on the same week as the final table on the night before or something. So I haven't actually watched that one. But apart from that one, I watch everything. I watched the weigh-ins, I watched the prelims, I watched all the media scrums, the embedded, everything.
Your roots are firmly in Stockholm, in Sweden. That's where you were born and raised. You're living in London now. But let's talk about Sweden for a second. The biggest star in MMA from Sweden is Alexander Gustafsson. What have people in Sweden, from your understanding, made of MMA and the UFC specifically, and also Alexander Gustafsson?
I think he's been huge for the sports and promoting it back then. It really seems like people are getting attention for the sports a lot thanks to him. You know, when he was fighting Jones and almost beat him, like everyone stayed up. You know, it was live reporting on the biggest news sites, and I think from that moment when he came so close to winning, people realized that wow, we almost had a world champion tonight, and then now everyone's really interested to see if he could do it again and pull off the upset.
Were you at the recent Stockholm card in October?
I was, yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
It was fun. You know, it wasn't the best card ever, but it was. It's always good to watch live events every now and then.
And of course, the UFC are coming back to Stockholm sooner than some people expected them to, and in a big way. You know, a 30,000-seater arena in the Tele2 in Stockholm with Gustafsson headlining, fighting Anthony Johnson. When you heard they were coming back to Stockholm so soon with that card and that arena, what were your initial thoughts?
That I had to go. No. It was never a question about not going. So yeah, I'm really excited about that one. Finally, the UFC realized that there's a big market in Sweden, and they're rewarding it with a decent card or really good card. Yeah, I think the fact that Gustafsson is on it is going to draw a lot more attention than the previous card had done, even though they're all sold out as far as I know.
I mean, from what I've heard, we've only got 500 tickets left or something in that ballpark. So it's fantastic what the UFC have done in terms of selling tickets. Who are some of your favorite fighters to watch? Of course, and I'm sure you're going to say Gustafsson, but aside from Gustafsson, who are some of the fighters that you really look forward to watching?
Robbie Lawler. I like the aggressive fighters, primarily strikers. I think that's still the most fun style to watch. Right. And also guys with good cardio that can go hard, like 5 rounds, you know, and doesn't slow down. So yeah, I really enjoy like Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown and those type of guys.
2015 is going to be a massive year for the UFC, and they're kicking off with some really big cards, especially in January, with the Stockholm card being one of them. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to most next year, especially from the UFC?
Jones Cormier, for sure. Yeah.
How do you think that fight's going to go down?
Oof, it's really tough to predict. Cormier's undefeated. Jones basically undefeated as well. Two very different styles, and yeah, I don't know. I really don't have a prediction. I just hope it's a good fight, and that Cormier doesn't end up getting eye poked for 5 rounds, and Jones stuffing the takedowns. But who knows?
Will you be there in Vegas?
That was the original plan. Now I don't know. It's I just came from that side of the world. It's quite a long flight, and it's quite soon as well.
In a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to be there in Stockholm. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, for sure.
Break down the main event for us. Anthony Johnson versus Gustafsson. We know you're a little bit biased and you're going to want Gustafsson to win, but can you just break down the fight for us and how do you think it'll play out?
I think it's a really tough fight for Gus, for sure. Anthony Johnson, he looked unreal versus Phil Davis. Yeah. And Phil Davis is Alex is actually training with Phil right now. I saw he's back in San Diego. But I hope that Alex will use his foot movement and stay active on the feet and not be flat-footed, because then it can go badly. But Alex has a great chin, so he can take a punch, and hopefully just picking him apart from the outside.
And one final question: do you think Alexander Gustafsson will be the first European UFC champion in the modern era next year?
Well, it depends if Conor gets his title shot or not, and also how this fight plans out. It's tough to predict. It's you got to think like what the UFC thinks, what's in their best interest, and also you never know, like if the champions are ready to fight again, or if they get injured, or what's going to happen. But hopefully so.
Listen, this has been fantastic for me personally as a fan of poker and a poker player myself. And perhaps we can catch up again January 24th in Stockholm to maybe reflect on fight week and the main event itself.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Martin, it's the festive season, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you January 24th.
Yeah, thank you.
Mine, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.